So today, actually in Arizona where I am, it's 10 o'clock at night, but in the East Coast, it's 1 o'clock in the morning on the 4th of July. And in Oklahoma, it just passed midnight in that part of the country. I want to talk about the 4th of July for a minute because I remember in 1976 when we had our 200th birthday. I remember walking on some street in uh, either Carbondale, Illinois, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got transferred to Pennsylvania about that time, and I remember the joy and the thrill of the excitement of it that America was 200 years old, and it was like you're walking down the street and music at midnight as it turned. I was up late back when I could do things like that. And it was just such a great memory. And I've been to so many beautiful things that this country has to offer. I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1979 when the Pirates won the World Series and the Steelers won the Super Bowl. I got to go to three of the World Series games in Pittsburgh. Uh, Luckily, had ended up with four tickets to the World Series and took three of my friends, and so that was just a very incredible thing. And I have been to all 50 states. We just got back from Puerto Rico, but before that, I'd been to all 50 states. And there's so much to see in this country, and it's so beautiful. So I just wanted to kind of reminisce. And I'll tell you something else. I have a friend, a high school friend. He was in my class. His name was Ron Richard. He was born on the 4th of July. And he was, I'm not sure how much his birthday influenced him, but he ran for office. We elected him president of our class in Joplin, Missouri, a little Catholic school. And then later he ran for office and he became mayor of Joplin. And then later became a representative of that area, and it became something called something pro tem, senator pro tem or something. I don't know what it was. But my point is, he was born on the 4th of July, and just like the song, I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, Ron Richard may have been affected or changed his attitude of life simply based on his birthday. And to me, that's pretty cool. I've got another friend that was born on July 3rd, the 3rd of July. So that was still his birthday here in Arizona, but actually he lives in Oklahoma and he's already past his birthday. But so much to see. And one of the things I wanted to do in memory of his birthday, first of the birthday of the 250th birthday of the United States. Today, I'm going to recite the 50 states in less than 250 seconds, alphabetically, okay? And also today, I walked 250 times 10 steps. Pretty exciting, huh? I did 2,500 steps today. Now you're probably saying, how does someone that old do that? Well, I don't know. We got an indoor walking track where it's cool. And we just got a note from, thank you. I'm just learning how this system works. So thank you, Wade Chasey, for being here for a few minutes. I'm going to do something I think is pretty cool in a minute. I want to recite the 50 states in, let me turn this on, less than 254 seconds. So that would be 250, 6, 12, 8, 240, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. And we'll see how we do. But it's main at that law as I go along this, I'm going to also say something about many of the states. Uh, remember, 4 minutes and 10 seconds is my goal. Alabama. That's the first state alphabetically. Alaska. I have been to Alaska. That's my 50th state. Arizona. I live in Arizona. Arkansas. I have had an uncle in Arkansas. California. I bicycled across the United States 11 years ago. 11 years ago. Ended up in San Diego, California, Colorado. One of the members of the Click and Learn team lives in Colorado. Connecticut. I remember when we first made this game years ago, I was given a demo in Tulsa at a university school in Tulsa. And the head of technology said, when I've got my button over Connecticut, it covered that little part that comes down. He said, you're hiding the only significant thing that shows something different about the shape of the state. So while he was doing something else, I got in and edited. Back then in those years when we had our first version of this system, I edited and I moved that little button away from that little part that sticks down there. So when I got in and I was showing all of the teachers there how the system works, he was surprised that all he had to do is say, the button's in the wrong place. And we moved it. That's one of the things you can do with the internet and interactive system now. In the past, we had it on diskette. You put it on each computer, and anything changed, you had to make new diskettes and put them on all the computers. So I'm up to Connecticut, Delaware, Florida. I just went through Florida. I landed from Puerto Rico to Orlando. Orlando has a beautiful, huge airport with these trains that take you from one place to another. And I was walking along with my cane after I got off the airplane from Puerto Rico. And one of these little carts drove up, And the guy said, get in, And we flew all the way to baggage claim. No, let me think. We flew to the next gate because I then had to go to. So that's Florida, Georgia, Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii about 3 or 4 times. Stayed in a place called Kaanapali Beach in Maui. That's Hawaii. Hii, Idaho. I remember going through Idaho, Boise, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we're 14 years old with the family. We're in the McDonald's and the electricity went out. I thought that was memorable. So that is the Andrew. Okay, this is pretty cool. Thank you. See what it says. The Orlando airport is nice, but it's hard to notice when it's 3 a.m. and I'm on 2 hours of sleep to catch my flight. I understand that completely. I really do. Because going the other way, I was going to New Jersey and I had a layover in Orlando. And the next departing plane wasn't until the next morning, and I had to sleep on one of these benches in the airport. And when you get to be my age, that is very, very difficult. It is not easy. But anyway, so where we're Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois. I lived in Southern Illinois for a while. I was a mine engineer for a coal mining company down around Carbondale, but it was right in. And live in Florida, so I'm in the Orlando airport quite a bit. I was really impressed at those little trains. They're really beautiful. The handrails, everything looks like it's brand new. And I'll tell you something else really cool. As we landed in Orlando, the pilot from Puerto Rico, the pilot was his last trip as a pilot. He had his family on board for his last trip. I don't know how many years they've been a pilot, maybe 23, 25, 30, a long time. And the co-pilot came on and announced, this is his last flight. And the plane applauded. And then when we got close to the gate, there was fire engines on either side of the plane shooting water onto the plane that we came in on. I mean, that was pretty cool to be part of something like that, part of someone's life. So I've gone to Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana. When I lived in Evansville, Indiana, back in 1980, I went to the 70. I went to the Indianapolis 500, and I was just a college kid, just out of getting. I didn't have any money, and all I could afford was to be on the infield. This is the Indy 500. You got on the infield with thousands of other people who couldn't afford to buy a seat, and from the infield, all you saw is occasionally the cars would race by, but at least I was at the Indy 500. Now I think that was in 1980, I think. And also, Evansville, Indiana, where I lived, was close enough to Kentucky that I went to the Kentucky Derby that year. And again, on the infield, where people are just partying. I was like, I don't know, 28. No, how old was I? What would I have been at 80? 57, 67, 7. I was about 33 years old. And so that was Indiana, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. I have an uncle. My mother has an uncle who was a bishop, Bishop Heelan, and in Sioux City, I think it is, they have the cathedral's named after. No, the high school's named after Bishop Heelan. That's Iowa. Kansas. I lived in Kansas City, Overland Park. Kansas, Kentucky. I've been to a beautiful, cemetery in Western Kentucky. And it's called I think it's called in the city of Mayfield. And there are statues, someone built statues of all of his relatives. And he's kind of in the middle, maybe he's on his horse, statue of horse, surrounded by statues of just a really cool, cemetery. That's Kentucky. Louisiana, I went to the Mardi Gras twice in Louisiana when I was in college. Again, couldn't afford anything, so a bunch of us guys crowded into one motel room, and it was memorable. It was just like, that's all we could do. That's Louisiana. Maine, I've been in Maine once. One of my friends' granddad has some property up there that I hope to get to visit sometime. That's Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan. Michigan has the Upper Peninsula called the UP, and there's a city up there where you can't drive a car. That's Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, where the Mall of America, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri. I was born and raised in Missouri for so many years. Missouri, Montana. In Montana, so many cities begin with the letter B. Butte, Montana, Billings, Montana, Bozeman, Montana. That's what I remember about Montana. It's a huge, beautiful state. My main material. In Nebraska, there was a Roberts Dairy in, I think, Lincoln, Nebraska, that I worked at for a little bit. Nebraska, Nevada. I have a friend in Nevada, Pahrump, Nevada, and he sells computers. And Nevada, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey. Two of our Click and Learn team lived in New Jersey. New Mexico, we have a great nephew who's going to college there. I'm running through the 50 states, but I'm thinking about something from each of those states. So where am I at? New Mexico, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York. I did, where an airplane pulls a little bitty plane up behind it, and they let you go and you float around. That was in Horseheads, around Horseheads, the Finger Lakes. That's New York. Nevada, North Carolina, and North Dakota. I have a friend who is a coal miner up in North Dakota. Ohio, 88 counties of Ohio. Once when I was at a trade show in Ohio, I learned the names and locations of all 88 counties while I was at the booth in that conference, social studies or geography conference. Ohio, Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma City. I lived in Bixby outside of Tulsa. Oregon, I think it's where Crater Lake is. Beautiful, beautiful. Oregon, I've gone through Oregon on Amtrak. That's Oregon, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon. Pennsylvania, I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. First time I ever had baklava at a Greek food festival. I loved Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's like I say, when the Pirates won and the Steelers won 1979. Pennsylvania, PQR, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee. I have friends in Knoxville. One of my friends, he's a church minister in Knoxville. I have a high school friend in Nashville and another college friend in Cookeville. That's Tennessee. Texas. I lived in Texas. I lived in Plano, Texas, just north of Dallas, working for a coal mining company again. Hold on. How do I mute this for a minute while I cough? That's Texas. Utah, we had our last team building event gathering in Salt Lake City last year, and we took a drive out to the Salt Flats. That's Utah. Vermont, went to a, what do you call it? Ski. I did not ski. I break my neck. Some of my friends went up there and they skied. I went, and him and one of the guy's wives, we just, what do you call it? We just watched them from the lodge, the ski lodge as they came down the hill. Now that's Vermont. Virginia, Washington. My parents lived in Seattle. West Virginia, 55 counties in West Virginia, where West Virginia is shaped like this. I mean, how does this go? Yeah, like this, if you look at it. There are 3 counties up here, HBO, okay? A couple counties over here. That's West Virginia. Wisconsin, I think it'd be really cool to live in Rapid City for a while. No. Base. Where's the Green Bay? Green Bay, and from what I understand, the people that live there own the football team, Green Bay Packers. So I'm up to Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Wyoming is such a beautiful, beautiful state as well. There's so much, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. This is the birthday of the United States, and each of those 50 states has some beautiful areas. I like to drive, so I drive through the countryside. But as I mentioned, okay, I said I was going to do that in 250 seconds. That took me way longer than that. So I was a failure at that, but that's okay. I did walk 2,500 steps today. Okay. That's an accomplishment for me. So, and I'm going to recite the 50 states alphabetically in less than, I just recited them, but I want to recite them fast. Which state is my favorite? I'll tell you what, I have to say that, first of all, Seattle area is beautiful, but Colorado has Pikes Peak. It has the Royal Gorge. It has the Garden of the Gods. Colorado's beautiful. And then it's got that little train that goes through the, which is my favorite. You know, they say there's no place like home. And to me, I was born in Missouri, and my dot doesn't have the oceans. It doesn't have the mountains. It doesn't have a lot of things that the other states have. But because I was born and raised in Joplin, Missouri, went to school in Rolla, Missouri, worked as an assistant pizza parlor manager in St. Louis. I'd have to say, from a personal point of view, Missouri is my favorite. So I'm going to ask you a way to cheesy. What is your favorite? Go ahead and say in the comment what's your favorite, and give me a little about a couple sentences about why it's your favorite. And I'll look forward to that. But in the meantime, while you're typing, I'm going to recite the 50 states in much less than 250 seconds. I'm going to even recite it in less than 50 seconds. And as I recite, I will be pointing to my mental map because I've learned all the states. And when I think about reciting them, I do it alphabetically and I point to the one which I'm reciting. So let's see if we can do this in less than 50 seconds. And I'm not even going to use a stopwatch this time because I've done this often enough. I know I can do it in less than 40 seconds, okay? Here we go. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, LMN, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. And a couple of clues on how to remember that when you're clicking, and I'll do the clicking in a minute. I'll click on the map. But Louisiana is shaped like the letter L, makes it easy. Vermont is shaped like the letter V, makes it easy to find. Nevada is the bottom, shaped like the letter V, makes it easy to find. Utah is shaped like half of the letter U, okay? So that's one of the things I did do. I think I probably recited those 50 states in, I would guess, 35 seconds, because I was rushing through it. And right now, I think that way too cheesy, who asked which state is my favorite. And I told him personally which one is my favorite, and that's where I was born. I went to college. Okay, now it comes, let me close this one, he says. I'll show you what he says. He says, and it might be she, I don't know. It doesn't matter. So anybody that cares about geography, oh my gosh, my favorite state have been South Dakota. Such a beautiful state. Okay, I'm going to talk about South Dakota for a minute. South Dakota has the Corn Palace, has Wall Drug, has Rushmore, and has those places alone. There's another place in there that is very popular. Oh, and the Badlands. You go off the Badlands a little bit and way to cheesy. I know that you've been to those places. I know you've seen it, but it is a beautiful state. So many people stay on the interstate. They don't see the what do you call it? The Badlands. I camped overnight in the Badlands on my way to years ago. Okay. It is a beautiful state. And he says, overall is Alaska. I've never been to it. I love how unique it is, especially. I've been to Alaska, flew into Juneau, and, it's okay. Okay, Waze says that that's a guy, okay? We can't tell from the names, but, so anyway, I've been to Alaska. I stayed in Juneau. I was there about a week. Some of my friends came up on a cruise ship, and I had only been there about 4 days, but I rented a car and I showed them around. I was their tour guide in Alaska. The things I remember, the eagles on the top of the telephone poles and the light posts on the way to. There was a glacier, Mendenhall Glacier, that we went to, and then in Juneau there was a tram or an incline, whatever it is, some little device that took you up to the top of this hill. I think it was called Roberts Hill. And I did some hiking up there. But I agree with you, South Dakota really has some very memorable things up there. And I think there's even, I'm not sure, you can tell me if Custer's Land Stand was up in South Dakota. And also that's, I think, where they have the motorcycle thing I'm not sure how often, but all these motorcycles come into, I forgot the name of the city, but there's so many motorcyclists come in that motels are sold out for 50 miles in all direction. I found that out one time. Okay. And he says, I've only been to western South Dakota. I've been to the Badlands, Rushmore, and the prairies. All were very beautiful in their own ways, which is especially cool because they're all so close. Yes. And I really think today, 4th of July, really is a day to honor the states, but Mount Rushmore. And I've never been there at night, but what they say is they light up the faces of the four that are on the and I agree with this. This is really cool. This is why I do this. I want to interact with people who care about geography. And he says it's not often where you can find such different landscapes, such close, and that's exactly right. The Black Hills, the beautiful Black Hills, and the Badlands. The Badlands are beautiful. You can see the geology and the colors of the different levels there. But also Rapid City. I was in Puerto Rico last week with the other guys from the Click and Learn team. And we went to, one of the things I wanted to do is go to something called Avenue of the Presidents in San Juan. And they have statues. I think they're life size. They were all taller than me, but I think presidents are usually taller than me. But they were all the presidents that have been to Puerto Rico, even when they weren't a president, maybe they came up later or before, starting with Teddy Roosevelt, going all the way to Obama. And I had one of my friends take a picture of me in front of several of the different presidents. So that was, okay, so I'm talking about Puerto Rico, but getting back to North Dakota, South Dakota, in Rapid City, on the corners, they have statues of all 45 presidents. I know that Trump has been elected twice, and who was the other one that's been elected twice? Harrison Cleveland. I used to know that, and someone's watching might know that, which the president was elected twice. Harrison Cleveland. But anyway, in Rapid City, they have a statue of each of the presidents, and each of them, the president's statues, is doing something that reminds us, like Harry Truman is holding a newspaper that said, Dewey wins. He was running against president. So he got that picture. And different presidents are holding different things. I've been to that. Rapid City is beautiful as well. So I'm going to get in and I'm going to get it. Here's the other thing. Whenever I'm doing this, anybody that's watching, they can get in and play the same games that we demonstrate, because while I present them, we're going to put them free, to make them free. And I'm going to go to, Kenny says he'd been to that little area downtown Rapid City. People would put little hats on the statues and whatnot. I went to a small dinner restaurant there, and it was really great. And that is something cool about some statues, that we have a place in town. I live in a retirement community in Arizona, and one of those houses has statues of two old people sitting on a bench because everybody here is old. And at St. Pat's Day, they will wrap green things around them, the statues, and they decorate those two old people in the statue, depending on whether it's Christmas or St. Pat's Day or different days of the year, Halloween, for example. So let me get into, I'm going to see if I don't make a mistake here doing this. Okay, I'm going to get into, and I'm going to show you, anybody who goes to clickandlearn.fun, that's clickandlearn.fun, they can click, and I tell you right now I'm logged in as a registered user. I'm going to show you what happens when you're not logged in. I'm going to sign out. So I'm going to sign out. So now it's just as if anybody goes to clickandlearn.fun. You don't have to be a subscriber to play some of these games. And they go to free geography games. They click here, and that brings up about 12 different geography games that we have. And because this is the birthday of the United States, I'm going to click this game. Whoops. Okay. That's supposed to be free. I will have my programmer fix that. Okay. Okay. This is a glitch, and I'm just learning how to do this. So I'm going to log in as, how am I going to do that? It will be free soon. He will make it free. I'm going to go to, boy, that's just distressing. Okay. I'm going to go back to this layout, and I'm going to get into that and fix it. I can't fix many things technologically, but I can fix the games in Click and Learn, and I can make them free. So way too cheesy. If you want to learn counties of any of the states, just let me know and I'll put them in the free area. But let me get, I'm doing something in the background here. And have to put in my secret user ID and password. And then once I get that in, I'll be able to get you back in. And I'm going to email the programmer tonight. He lives in Colorado. Beautiful, beautiful state. I would enjoy visiting him when I'm up there. So I'm going to go to, now I'm logged in. Now I'm going to click on free geography games. And I'm going to click on 50 states. And I'm going to move to test mode. And I'm going to click turn off the volume, click go. Up at the top, it asks for Missouri. Missouri, watch the question at the top and see if you can anticipate where I'm going to click next. You know this is South Dakota. I know you probably know all the states in this area. You might know all of them. Most people who care about geography can score 100% of this game, and I'll have it set up to be free tomorrow. Okay, that's for Illinois. That's for Illinois. If I get a green light, I get it correct. Watch what happens, Alaska. I get a green light. If I had these wrong, it'd be a red light, but that's for North Dakota. Vermont is shaped like the letter V. New Jersey, where some of the Click and Learn team are. New Hampshire, I've been in New Hampshire, I've been in all 50 states. Seattle is beautiful. Puget Sound is beautiful. Up in the top left corner, there's some place called Neah Bay, which is the farthest northwest part of the United States. That's for Rhode Island, Arkansas. I had relatives in Arkansas, Nebraska, Roberts Dairy in Lincoln, Georgia, Kansas. I lived in Overland Park, Kansas, up right up here. Florida, Minnesota, New York, California. Some of these are easy. Louisiana is shaped like the letter L, makes that easy. Alabama. I'm going to go through this quickly. I know you don't want to sit here and watch me playing this. You'd rather be playing yourself, because we'll have it set up so you can play these games by yourself. This game for sure. It has for Montana, Oklahoma, where I lived in 2 or 3 different cities. This is South Carolina and North Carolina. Arizona, where I currently live, near Phoenix. Oregon is a beautiful state. New Mexico. I have a nephew that goes to school there. Indiana, where the Indiana Fever is from. That's a WNBA, women's NBA team that I like to follow. Mississippi, Wyoming, Montana, Wyoming. This is Wyoming. Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is over here. Philadelphia is right down here. Okay. And that's clicking the green, got a green light. Utah, Ohio, Connecticut. Just give me another minute. I'll be through this. South Dakota, Maryland, Hawaii, Virginia, West Virginia and Virginia, Tennessee. I got friends in Tennessee, high school and college. Nevada, Delaware. This would be Delaware. Kentucky, Idaho, West Virginia. That's a song about John Denver wrote a song about West Virginia, which a friend of mine played that a couple of days ago. Texas, there are 254 counties of Texas. In a few days, I will show you that I can recite all 254 counties of Texas alphabetically and score 100%. Maine, South Carolina. I got to be careful because sometimes I just click without thinking. Colorado, Wisconsin, Massachusetts, Iowa. And when I click and get it wrong, then I'm not going to get 100%. I've answered 48. Okay, there's Iowa. And the last one's going to be Michigan. And all of those are green. I got 100%. And that's kind of what I thought I should do on here on the, what do you call it? Was that even showing up? Oh my gosh. See, this is what I'm doing wrong. Okay, I'm going to go to this. I'm sorry. And I'm going to show you how I get there. Okay. You go to free geography games and you click on 50 states, and I'm going to switch to test mode. I'm only going to answer 10 of these just to show you because I didn't realize you couldn't see it. Alaska. I need someone to be what he called a monitor and checking the comments and telling me what I'm missing. It asks for Kansas at the top. It asks for Wyoming. Okay, when I get it correct, I get a green light. It asks for Delaware. I'll show you what happens when I get it wrong. It asks for Georgia. I click Alabama, and you can see the red light. I got it wrong. So that's how it works to let you know if you're getting it right or wrong. And up here, it tells me how many you've done. I'm just going to do 5 more. New Hampshire, Louisiana, shaped like the letter L, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Mississippi. That's 10. Okay. So I'm going to exit from here. You can exit up here, or you can exit. There's usually an exit button. I'm sorry about that. I hope that was better. So, as you say, counties are not your strong suit. However, if you know, okay, here we go. I hadn't seen this one yet. Over the years, I've accumulated a bit of knowledge. I can name all of the countries, all of the 50 states, the Australian states. I think there's, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's something called maybe Queens. Maybe there's one, the southern, western, I'm not sure. I don't know the countries of, what do you call it? Australia. Canadian provinces, okay. And I know most of the German and Mexican states. There are 31 Mexican states. 31. Queensland. Okay, I knew there Queensland. But there are 31 Mexican states, and that's one of our free games. So 31 states plus Mexico City is the capital. For Canada, we have Game for Canada. And let me get in and play the Game for Canada for you. I'm going to, okay, I want to hide that one. And I'm going to bring this up to, I'm going to go to Canada. I'm going to click and these will be free tomorrow. Also, all these should be free. And the way you get to them is you go to clickandlearn.fun. Just click and learn.fun, and you get there. And then, okay, what does that say? And then, come on, what did I do? What did I just darn do? I tell you what, I don't know how this technology works. And that they're trying to give me something with AI. I don't want anything with AI. How do I get out of this? How do I get back to this? Oh, man. Okay, there we are. Here we are. You click something, goes wrong, and it messes everything up. I'll X. Okay, here we go. X out of that. And I go back to here. And there's the comments. Okay, I've got that working. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to click on free geography games. I'm going to scroll over to Canada. And I'm going to click that. I'm going to show you how we play the game in learn mode, 7 questions at a time. I click the go button. It asks for Alberta. There's only 7 buttons on the screen. One of those is Alberta. When I click the correct button, I get a green light. Question changed to British Columbia. I'm racing the clock. British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick at the top, Newfoundland, Northwest Territories, and Nova Scotia. Okay, I did not beat the clock, so we play over and over, but now I focus, I concentrate without talking. I do whisper. Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Northwest Territories. What's it asking for? Newfoundland, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia. Beat the clock, and now I go to 13. And that'll be all of them. Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, OPQ, alphabetic Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, Saskatchewan, and Yukon. Did I beat the clock? I beat the clock, okay? And now we do it in random order. I click the go button. It asks for Nunavut, if I pronounce it correctly, Ontario. I know Ontario, OPQ, Prince Edward Island. So this would be Ontario, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, PEI, Prince Edward Island, Northwest Territories, Saskatchewan. This is Manitoba. This is Saskatchewan, Yukon Territory, Manitoba. Well, this is cool. My programmer is putting some colorful things in for each of these. Alberta. Apparently, this has something to do with Alberta. And does he have a picture for Newfoundland? I guess he's only got a few pictures in here. New Brunswick. He's got a picture for British Columbia. And the last one's Quebec. And so, okay, I was racing the clock, but I wasn't doing a good job. Let's do this again. Northwest Territories, Alberta, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Newfoundland, racing the clock, Nunavut, New Brunswick, British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, Saskatchewan, Yukon Territory, and Nova Scotia. Did I beat the clock? Barely beat the clock, okay? And now we go to test mode. We did it alphabetically and then random and test mode. New Brunswick, I got it correct. Alberta, we're doing test mode. We're not racing the clock. Quebec, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Nunavut, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia. This would be Nova Scotia. I've answered 9 so far. It tells it up here, Northwest Territories. I've answered 10, 11, Newfoundland, 12. And actually, it's Newfoundland and something else. Newfoundland, and you know that already. But we just make it easier. Newfoundland, British Columbia. And that's all 13. I got 100%. I'm going to exit from that. Okay. I just wanted to show you that since you're talking about, Okay, you've been to Ontario. Let me think where I've been. I'd love to visit Calgary. Oh my gosh, Calgary is where I think, is that where the Rocky Mountains, the what's it called? Banff. I think that's in Calgary, uh, Alberta. I've been to British Columbia, and that's about all. I have been to the waterfall, Niagara Falls, been on both sides of the Niagara Falls in the winter when the water's going over and the spray of the water and the freezing temperature made it look so beautiful. But you have been to Ontario. I've not been there. Okay. Banff is a small mountain town, just about an hour west of Calgary. So apparently Calgary is the big city. You see how much you learn? See how much we learn by knowing something about geography? And he says Newfoundland and Labrador. Oh yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador. Nobody calls it that. Newfoundland is a much more easier name. You're right. That's why we probably have it in the system the way it is. But that's the beauty of, you see, way too cheesy. You have made my night. You have made this so much more enjoyable. And when I travel, I was in a sports bar. I was in Buffalo Wild Wings watching the 7th game of the basketball tournament. And the guy to my right, we're talking. He said, if you have any questions about anything about speaking Spanish, let me know. And I said, well, I'm going to Puerto Rico. And I said, I'm trying to learn how they pronounce some of the names of the municipalities because we're learning all 78 of them. Let me get into that. I'm going to show you just 10 questions. I'm not going to bore you with this, but in preparation for our trip to Puerto Rico, me and the other guys on our team learned the names of the 78 municipalities of Puerto Rico. And here's some free games this week. Now, these games are free already. The other ones I'll make them free. But this game is for all municipalities. I'm going to switch to test mode. I'm only going to do the first 20 of these 78. Okay. That's for Aguada. When I get it right, I get a green light. Aguada, Adjuntas, first one alphabetically. Lajas, green light. Ceiba, Peñuelas, Patillas, and I don't know how to speak Spanish. That was the hardest part. Learning how to speak the names of these. Manatee, Hatillo, and the H is not pronounced like an H, it's Otillo. Vega Alta, that would be Vega Alta, got a green light. Guaynabo, green light. Sidra. We stayed in San Juan, which is this one up here. And we went to beaches on Loquia, and we went to the jungle out here. It's like a state or national park. Ciales Sidra, green light. Las Marias, green light. Toa Baja, this is Toa Alta, Toa Baja. Morovis, learning to pronounce is interesting. Morovis, Aguadilla. I've answered 15 after 5 more. San Sebastian, Mayaguez. After 3 more, there's a little button will appear. Olmagueras, Quebradillas. And I've answered 19 when I got to Yabucoa. I get that one, and this little button appears, and I can use that to say how well I've done for the first 20. Or I could have gone through the whole thing. So, I've never been. This is our first time to Puerto Rico. Here's what I really liked about Puerto Rico. Everybody, even though I don't speak Spanish, most of the people there speak decent English, but Spanish is still their primary. The thing I liked about it the most was that everybody was friendly. I met people, visitors. I met a guy from Georgia and his wife. They were Atlanta. They were uh, celebrating their 39th anniversary. There's a lot of visitors over there, but also we're in this one little cafe. I got to tell you this story. We're in a little bitty cafe. We had our first Puerto Rican restaurant, and I'm sitting there with my two buddies, and some other guy walked in. He was about 25 is what he actually was. And I said to my friend, and he had curly hair, and I said to one of my friends, I said, that guy looks like he's a California surfer boy, looked like a surfer. We finished our food, and as we're leaving, I said to this guy, I said, where are you from? He said he lives in Rio Grande. He just moved there from Culebra. Well, knowing the municipalities, we knew where Rio Grande was, and we knew that Culebra is one of the little islands out there. So that helped with the conversation. Just by knowing geography helped with our conversation. It turns out, to me, he looked like a surfer kid from California, but it turned out he has his own company in Puerto Rico teaching people to surf. I thought that was pretty cool. He also takes people out on yachts, tourists, and things like that. But how did we like it? We all liked it a lot. It was really. We went to the jungle, went to the beach. I can't barely walk. I'm so old, but they gave me an inner tube, pushed me out into the ocean, and we all hung out there while I'm bouncing around in the inner tube. And then they pushed me back in. They're both like 31 years old, and they can do all the hiking and jogging and all that stuff. And that's what friends. I'm not married, but friends are my highest form of a relationship with friends. So that was a great time. And next year, we're thinking about going to Colorado for our group meeting because they've got so many things there. The guys are from New Jersey, and they'd like to go to Colorado. So anyway, this is really cool. 4th of July. So what else should I do? What else should I play? Well, I'll tell you what. Let me think. What can I do? You know, the cool part about this is not just playing the games, but talking to somebody about geography. I have a friend in town. She's in hospice. She's only 75 years old, but she's in hospice, and they have nurses there that take care of them. And I'll tell you about Bahamas in a minute. But so one of the nurses I was visiting my relative, and one of the nurses came in, and I could tell she had an accent. I said, "Where are you from?" You see, when you know countries, and you know countries of the world, you know the 50 states, and you could ask anybody where they're from, and if they say they're from Bangladesh, you don't have to sit there and say, "I have no idea what they're talking about." You can say something nice about where they're from because you know where all the countries are. So this lady says she's from Jamaica, so we had a nice conversation. And I was telling you about, I think I told you about the guy at Buffalo Wild Wings. He could speak Spanish. And so I said to him, I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "He's from Central America." I said, "No, you can be more specific." He said, "He's from Guatemala." And you know, Weighted Cheesy, you know where Guatemala is at. And you could say it's right next to Honduras, below Belize, just above Nicaragua, Panama, Nicaragua. And just by knowing what you know, first of all, when you hear the news, you absorb the news better because you know where those places are. And your question is, yeah, because I knew you would. You know where the countries are. You absolutely know where Guatemala is located. But here's what you said. Speaking of friendly Have you ever been to the Bahamas? The people are so friendly. I was there one time. I I was going to take an Amtrak trip across the country from Kansas City area up to Seattle and then down to Los Angeles and back across. So I went to this travel agency and they had this you put your name in a little bin and then they roll it out and they pick a winner at the end of some time. And I got a phone call at work and they said I just won a trip to Bahamas. I'd won a trip for two people to Nassau, Bahamas. And we stayed in, the prize was to stay at some resort or so. I didn't really get out much, so I don't know much about Nassau, but I thought the beach was beautiful. And I just haven't traveled much out of the United States. So you know where the countries are. Do you have a favorite country you'd like to visit someday? What country would you think would be cool to visit? And then you and I will talk about that because I know where that country is. Just because we both know where that country is. Okay. The Bahamas is one of only two foreign countries I've been to, alongside Canada. Next week, you're going to Southern Europe? Southern Europe. Okay. Southern Europe. That would be like maybe Spain, maybe Portugal, maybe France. I've got a friend who just got back from one of the guys on the team, just got back from Germany. His girlfriend's mother lives in Germany. You're going to Southern Europe. Do you know what countries you're going to be going to? You're going to have a great time. Okay. I've always wanted to visit Ireland someday. I'll tell you what my only relationship with Ireland is. My mother's dad was Irish, 100%. So I'm 25% Irish. And the university I went to, engineering school, the patron saint was St. Patrick. So we celebrate Ireland and St. Patrick's, such a beautiful place with the rich history. You're exactly right. That would probably be my favorite. Recently, I've also begun to have a great affection for France as well. On the plane from Orlando to, which was it? I got to think. One of the guys that was sitting next to me on the plane, him and his wife, it was the first lap from Puerto Rico to Orlando. I said, so where are you going next? And he said, they're going to Italy, Florence, Venice, and Rome in a couple months. So we talked about that. Well, you're going to have a great time. And there's so much to see in this country that I haven't been out of it very much. One place I'd like to visit is the French Riviera on the southern Mediterranean coast. You know, there's a term they call the south of France. It's a different way of looking at things. But I tell people, here's my philosophy, way to cherry cheesy. Here's my philosophy. I try to appreciate every day and I try to find something memorable and fun and good about every day. And our conversation is probably the highlight of my day right here, just because we're talking about something we both love. But I always tell people, I say, you got to be happy with little things in life. Because if you wait for big things in life, you might only be happy a few times. Like, I'll never own a Corvette. And I tell people I will never have a what is it, chateau on the south of France looking over the Mediterranean, because that's a place that I think has got to be so beautiful. And I keep telling people those are things that I'll never have. So I try to appreciate daily things like this conversation. I'll tell you something else good that happened today. I have a friend in Knoxville, and he called me. I asked him some technical question about live streaming, and he told me he'd been to Puerto Rico. We had a conversation. So that's another highlight of my day. And I figured out how to do a little bit more about live stream. So I'm going to Italy primarily, but I'm also spending some time in Austria, okay, Hungary, Croatia, and Slovenia. Now, here's something about Croatia, and you probably already know that. Croatia is shaped like the letter C. So that helps me find it on the map. And inside the letter C is Bosnia Herzegovina, right in there as well. Austria should be beautiful. I don't know. I've not been to. I don't know a lot about the other ones, but I do know that Austria should be pretty. And that's my point, though. You might see the Mediterranean from the south of France, and you'll see the Mediterranean from Italy for sure. Are you going to Florence? It's supposed to be very popular for art. Maybe the Renaissance started in Florence. I'm not sure. And then there's Venice with the canals. I've not been to any of those places, but I've heard they're beautiful. I tell you, you've really made my day here. Sometimes I wonder if any Americans care about geography. And as you already know, most Americans can't find a third of the countries in the world, probably a lot less. One with some family friends, one of whom is Austrian, okay, from Vienna. From Vienna. I think it's where the canals are. Born and raised in Vienna, now living in Italy, so we'll get a great tour. You are very fortunate. You are very fortunate to have someone that can show you around. Because when we were in Puerto Rico, we just had to look at maps and nobody to show us around, but we kind of figured it out on our own without a tour guide. And we wish we had gone to visit that guy who taught surfing lessons, because he has, what do you call it, yachts that he takes tourists out into. But we figured it'd be expensive, so we didn't go to that. Yes, and you're going in, let me scroll back here. You're going to be going there in just a couple of months. Okay. Okay. Anyway, you're going to have a great time. And when you get back, you might check, because I'm going to be doing live streaming as much as I can, partly to learn how to do live streaming. And sometimes you see my partners on here, the guys from New Jersey. One is good at, one's kind of our leader, and the other one is our video editor. And he puts videos up on YouTube and he gets some views because he knows how to edit them and make them look good. So you're getting back in late July. Well, this is July, so you're getting back at the end of this month. At the end of this month, I hope to be up in New Jersey, learning more about live streaming and working with the guys. Lots of my friends have, okay, this is pretty cool. Okay. Lots of my friends are pretty into geography as well. Many of my other friends are very unknowledgeable, though, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of that is because of the education system removed lots of important geography classes and stuff, and that's exactly right. And I'll tell you something you might already know, but if you ever have seen The Simpsons TV show, in season 4, episode 20, the name of that episode is Whacking Day, and that's where they pound sticks on the ground and the snakes come out and they whack them. Well, of course, little Lisa does not like killing anything, animals or anything, so she finds a way to save the snakes from getting whacked. But at the beginning of that episode, Superintendent Chalmers comes into Springfield High, I think where Bart Simpson goes to school, and Principal Skinner is there. And Principal Skinner says, "How's things going down at the head office?" And Superintendent Chalmers says, this is back 20 years ago. Superintendent Chalmers said, "Well, our students do terrible on the geography test, so we decided to eliminate it from the curriculum. Instead of trying to teach them geography, they figured, well, they're failing geography, so let's not teach it." And that is happening all across the United States. Texas just made geography an elective. You can either take geography or finance in high school. But here's the other thing. With our system, you say several of your friends are into geography. With our system, your friends and you, all of you, can learn the names and locations of the countries of South America in 24 minutes or less. Just like I showed you on the game about, whatever game about, the one about Canada. You can get into South America, Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Falkland Islands, and so forth. And they can play for free. They can learn in 50 states, and I mean, you might even work with them. And show them how the GET system works because it's free. They just go to clickandlearn.fun. And there are 2 guys in Los Angeles that I have 2 kids actually. One's 14, one's 12. And they are interested in geography, and I think they want to start a geography club there at the school because the school does not require it, like you say. But anyway, you can show your friends this, and all these games are going to be free all the rest of this year. They can learn Africa, Asia, Australia. Africa, Asia, Europe, Middle East, South America, Central America, Canada, Mexico, and the 50 states with these free games. And you're free to get in and play with them anytime. I'll have it working tomorrow once I get with my program and get these working, and I'll show you where they'll be again. They're going to be let me think. The games are going to be when we get it fixed, you click the button that says free geography games, and all 12 of these games, South America, continents and ocean, 50 states, Central Africa, Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Canada, Mexico. Now, I have not got into the Caribbean island countries. I'm not getting into the South Pacific island countries, but those will be free. And that's the type of thing that you or your friends might really enjoy getting into. Well, I tell you what, you have really made my day. It is about 11:15 here in Arizona, and I'm going to break off, but seriously, thank you so much. And when we get this live stream going, I hope that there are several people like you that can get in. We can start talking. Okay, let me see what you said, okay? I forgot to answer your question about which cities I'm going to. I'm not going to Florence or Rome, which is especially saddening because I'm looking forward to going to the Vatican. We initially planned to visit Rome because I love all things Catholicism. Well, actually, I went to a grade school in uh, Missouri, a Catholic grade school and high school, and we had nuns and priests. And no, they were really the nuns are probably some of the best people that I know because they really dedicate their lives to what they're doing. And so and actually, we had, I think there were 6 holy days when we went to church besides Sundays. But you're going to Vicenza, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and Venice. You've got a friend in Venice going to give you a tour. You are so fortunate because you'll probably get right on one of those canal boats down under the bridges. I look forward to you. Vicenza. Oh, here's another thing I haven't told you. My mother's dad was from Ireland, 100% Irish. My mother's mom was from Italy, 100% Italian. Her last name was Quartararo, which is, someone told me, that's a very Italian type of a name. So Vicenza. Okay. I know you got to be looking forward to the canals. You can take a lot of pictures. And here's one thing I do with my friends. We did this in Puerto Rico. Each day at the end of the day, each of us had to say, we took turns. Each of us had to say 5 specific things we liked about the day, like going into the jungle, like they climbed up in some tower, like overlooking the turrets, like the waitress we met in this one cafe that says, it's going to rain, come inside. And we didn't want to come inside because we thought, we're tough, we can handle a little rain, but then a torrent came in. And that was kind of a neat thing when you look about it. But when you're working with your friends out there, don't just let the days run together. At the end of each day, at least each of you write down a few specific things that you remember, little things like a conversation you had, or little things about, we saw an iguana, took a picture of that, things like that. And Italian food, I do know one word in Italian, mangia. That means eat. I think it means eat. Let's eat. My mom. That's the only one I knew. And that's one thing we enjoyed about Puerto Rico as well, as authentic Puerto Rican food. And we found out that Puerto Rican language is a combination of Spanish, Tiana, which is native, Taína, I think it's pronounced, and African. So it's not specifically all as Spanish as I would have thought it would be. So, well, I got to tell the guys, I'm going to tell my friends in New Jersey about this conversation, because I tell them all the time about the importance of geography knowledge, because you can have conversations about people. And the city I live in is all retirement people, so nobody is born here. You got to be 55 years old to live here. Everybody is here in the summers or all year long. They're from someone else. So the first question we ask is, where are you from? And then we have a conversation about where they're from. I also bicycled across the United States 11 years ago. And my house is a place where bicyclists who are bicycling across the country could stay for free. And a lot of those people are from, a lot of the bicyclists there's a guy from Denmark, the guy from Prince Edward Island. There was one from from Holland. There's one from Czech Republic. And when the guy from Holland came in, we talked about, I don't know if you know the story about the little Dutch boy that put his finger through the dike that kept the water coming in and flooding Holland. Holland is a part of the Netherlands. So that was a conversation just by knowing, oh, you have a friend from Denmark. I think my friend, I think the one from Holland I'm talking about is kind of part of the Netherlands. But we did have a bicyclist from Denmark. And once they come in, I say, where are you from? And they say, where they're from, and we talk. You have a friend from Denmark. I don't know how you happen to have all these friends from all over the world, but you're very fortunate. And you set up here someplace that you were very fortunate indeed. And I agree to have friends that you can share those stories with. We also have games about the municipalities or provinces of different countries as well. We got a game about breaking all the different parts that Denmark is, and Italy. I do have, I think there are 19, what are they called in Italy? Provinces? I'm not sure what they're called. Let me see if I can get into that. I'm going to see what we've got on Italy up here. I'm going to go to this game, and I'm going to go to Europe, going on to Europe, and I'm going to go across to Italy. 20 regions, that's what they're called. Okay. And with this system, I visited with a couple of people from Abruzzo. I don't know how to pronounce these, but this is just like the other games. If I don't know where this is at, the show me button will appear. There's Abruzzo. It's got Sotto Valley. I'm going to guess that I got it right, coincidentally. Apulia, correct. Basilicata, correct. Calabria, correct. Campania, it's probably this one, but I'm not sure. No, that's Emilia. Okay, this is Campania, and this is Emilia. But it works the same way. We broke that game into the, what do they call it? The regions of Italy. And that's what our system can do. Provinces in Italy. Yes. So if you go to Italy, before you go over there, well, those aren't free, unfortunately. Let's see if I can, not that you want to, but if you want it, I could bring that into the free area that you can then, and here's how the free area works. I'll scroll up to the top. All these 12s are supposed to be free, and they will be free tomorrow. But in addition, this area here are the free ones that we put in for this week. Counties of Texas. This is in test mode. I'm going to click that and see what happens. Test mode. 254 questions. It asks for refugio. Let's see if I can get this correct. If I get a green light, I got a green light. Refugio. Clay. This should be Clay. I got it correct. McMullen. I got it correct. Carnes. Carnes would be this one. B. B. Bell. This would be B. County. If I get it right. Henderson. Okay, so anyway, Trinity. I have a friend named Trinity, but let's see. That's what happens when you get it correct. When you get it correct, you get a green light. It asks for Wharton. But if I click something instead, this will say, sorry, this is Colorado. No, it doesn't say. If I was playing it, it would say otherwise. If I got it wrong, you just get it wrong. But that's how excited I am about this system, because it took me 16 days to learn the names of the 254 counties, and it took me 10 more days to figure out where they're located. That was my biggest challenge. And my license plate it says something about Texas, because I plan to go to Texas and tell them about how this system will help their students learn 254 counties of Texas. So whether you want to or not, I'm going to go ahead and make the Italy game free. You can get in and play with that if you want. And maybe your friend from Venice and the other city might want to play that game. You can show it to him if he wants it. But when you get back in late July, check and see if we'll be doing live streaming, and I want to hear about your trip. And unfortunately, we don't do pictures, and we really respect the privacy of anybody, because we don't know if some of these people coming in might be 8-year-old kids. There's a lot of young kids that into geography, and our company policy is we can connect through chats, but we always tell people, don't tell us anything personal, because you know how the internet is. We try to make it safe for everybody. Okay. So, and he says, thank you so much. This is being recorded in live streaming, but my programmer, or one of the guys, is going to put this on YouTube. No, it's being streamed to YouTube, and I think he's going to leave it there. So it'll be there, and my friends will be able to see the conversation we had here. So I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to set this up. So Italy game will be up when you're going to click free this week. You'll find the game for Italy up here. And when you click this one, you'll be able to play all of these other games, you or your geography friends, or even friends that are not into geography. So anyway, okay. As you can tell, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited that you care about geography so much. We had another viewer the other day who knew 2,000 counties, the locations of 2,000 counties of the United States, different states. This blew me away. I'm so impressed. Anyway, I'm going to go back to this, and I would say thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for letting me practice with this, because I get so boring if I just practice by myself here. It's good to interact with everybody. So we will look forward to the next time we see you. Okay? Take care. Good night. I'm going to click the button to end, and then I click it again, and we'll be disconnected. But thank you. And